Welcome to the SVG-TV News for today, Tuesday, May 3rd. I'm Calder with the details. President of the Caribbean Union of Teachers, the CUT, Dr. Garth Anderson, said the government of SVG needs to do the right thing and release the burden or pressure placed on teachers who were affected by its vaccination mandate. Addressing the SVG Teachers Union 22nd Biennial Conference virtually on Friday, Dr. Anderson said that the CUT strongly opposes mandatory vaccination.
I want to declare that the CUT is diametrically opposed to this action that has been taken and to mandatory vaccination. And we want to call on the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to release the burden, the pressure that they have placed on teachers who have been fired, and ensure that these teachers return to the classroom with full benefits. There can be no compromising on that. The government, I am sure, cannot afford, should not afford to come across hostile to teachers, callous and uncaring. So we are calling, using this medium, that good sense should prevail, and those who are in authority should take a good examination of themselves, search their hearts, search their minds, and stop this victimization of the teachers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Dr. Anderson commended the leadership of the SVG-TU for standing up to the government on behalf of its members, especially those who were affected by the vaccination policy.
We have seen where democratically elected governments of our region have taken active steps to violate the human rights provision of our teachers. Here, I must pause to congratulate the leadership of SVGTU for its militancy, courage, and fixity of purpose in standing firm against the Goliaths, the bullies, who would seek to use their seat of power to victimize and disrupt the lives of teachers.
The CUT president told teachers not to allow the vexing issue of forced vaccinations escape their deliberation or pull them apart.
Urging teachers to stand with the union and let there be no division on this matter. Injustice against one teacher must be seen as injustice against all teachers.
The 22nd Biennial Conference was held under the theme, The Collective Principle, an ethical and effective tool for workers' advocacy. At the conference, retired teacher Harriet Da Silva was honored for her 41 years of service, and the union's new executive was installed. On Sunday, workers and trade unions across SVG celebrated International Workers' Day under the theme, United Workers for Social and Economic Advancement. To mark the occasion, the SVG Teachers Union held a rally at the Solidarity Car Park in Kingstown to celebrate the contributions of workers across the country. President of the Public Service Union, Elroy Boucher, who reflected on some of the achievements of workers over the years, said International Workers' Day is a special occasion to celebrate and recognize the contributions of workers, especially their social and economic advancements, and that of the nation.
This historic day also give us pause to reflect on our struggles as working people and trade unions. Over the years, there has been small gains made, and those gains cannot be ignored. These achievements must also be recognized and celebrated. And as such, I wish to recognize one, the review of the minimum wage regulations, which resulted in an increase in minimum wage for workers across sectors on 4 different occasions over the last 15 or 20 years. And although we have had this review, some will know that our minimum wage is still among the lowest within the OECS. So there's still work to be done.
Boucher said more also needs to be done to enforce the Occupation Safety and Health Act, which is meant to protect workers.
But of course, we are very much aware that this very important act sits on a shelf gathering dust. So work has to be done in getting that enforced. We also must mention the 100% mortgage program that enables workers to construct homes. And I mentioned this because we are also looking at the empowering of workers. And this would have enabled public servants over the years to construct homes across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. While we recognize some of our achievements, we must also celebrate the contribution of workers, especially at a time when the world is gripped by a COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has produced heroes, but it has also produced villains.
Speaking on the government's vaccination policy for frontline workers, the PSU president said the policy, which resulted in a number of public servants losing their jobs, was a clear violation of workers' rights.
Our freedom of choice, the freedom to choose what goes into our body, has been violated. Workers who refuse to give up their right to free choice and bodily integrity suffered the consequences. It is common knowledge that the vaccine did not meet the majority of the objectives set out in the government SRNO. It did not prevent contraction. It did not prevent spread. And the one item that formed part of their objective, which states to protect the health and safety of employees, that itself could not hold water. If the government wanted to protect the health and safety of employees, there is a piece of legislation that sits on a shelf that would do just that.
Meanwhile, President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, said trade unions will continue to fight and defend all workers at all costs. During yesterday's rally, held as part of the celebrations to mark International Workers' Day, Robinson said the government continues to trample on the rights of workers.
And as a trade unionist, and my executive, we stood up for our teachers. And we are fighting together with our brothers. People like Poya, you heard them every week on the radio speaking about workers' rights. And sometimes we sit back and we think that the struggle is easy. It's hard, it's tough. We have workers today, basic things like appointment. And Boucher made mention of our collective agreement. The collective agreement says reasonable time. Within reasonable time, you must be appointed after you have pursued a course of study which is approved by the state. And you have people all 4, 5, 6 years can't get the appointment.
Robinson urged workers island-wide to stand up and stand tall with their unions.
But too many of us putting party before our union and our work. We have to stand up and we have to stand tall. And that is the first mark of a man, to stand. The animals, they go on 4 feet on the ground. But we have to stand up. And we have to stand up for what is right and what is just.
Speaking of some of the recent challenges faced by workers in the country, including financially, Robinson lamented about SVG's minimum wage, which he said is ridiculous compared to other countries in the OECS.
Because this government believes in cheap labor. That's why we are almost at the bottom of the table when it comes to our minimum wage in the OECS. St. Kitts and Nevis is much smaller than us, and they are at the top, approximately $8 per hour. St. Vincent and Grenadines is approximately $4. We're at the bottom. All the other countries are above us. But we are talking about social and economic development. If we do not empower our people with the skills that they need and provide them with the resources, how can we progress? This is serious business.
The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines intends to utilize money that has been paid down on the debt owed to Venezuela to invest in the local fishing industry. Last week, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and Finance Minister Camilo Gonzalez met with Nicolas Maduro, President of Venezuela, to discuss a number of financial initiatives, which include over $100 million in debt relief. Speaking at a news conference last Thursday, Minister Gonzalez explained the money was being held in the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, as sanctions imposed by the United States prevented the funds from being transferred to Alba Bank of Venezuela. Minister Gonzalez said SVG has been given the go-ahead by President Maduro to borrow back the $9 million, a portion of which will be used to purchase large commercial fishing vessels.
There are some industrial vessels that cost up to $800,000, and those can harvest in a year 120,000 pounds of lobster during season. And there are some medium-sized vessels which are not the industrial type. They cost about $300,000, and they can do a very good mix: 70,000 pounds of lobster, another 100,000 pounds of tuna and snapper. Each one will hold between 5 and 10 crew members. So the idea is to use this money, use a significant portion of this money to purchase new vessels, larger vessels, beyond pirogue type vessels. Get some experienced captains to work on these vessels, to then train Vincentians fishing large amounts of fish in a commercial manner, and training how to use the advanced boats that are available and the advanced fishing techniques that are available.
Minister Gonzalez said government plans to purchase up to 6 boats with the money and reinvest future monies to expand the existing fleet of fishing vessels.
We hire the experienced captains, we compensate the local Vincentians well for working and learning on the boat, and then eventually, when we've paid off these boats, and these boats will pay themselves off very quickly because of the amount of demand that we currently have in the economy, we allow local fishers to lease these boats or use these boats, and we reinvest that $4 million to get additional boats. So we will keep rotating this investment, and as we pay off one set of boats, we lease them cheaply to local fishers and get some more boats to expand the capacity of the fleet, which will obviously add wealth to St. Vincent.
Government is cutting the excise duty on gasoline by 50%. This means a savings of approximately $1.05 on diesel per gallon and $1.50 on every gallon of gasoline. Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez says all the taxes being paid on gas and diesel amounts to just over 18%. This has been reduced to 9%, resulting in the lower prices for the consumer. So instead of the current $14.69 per gallon being paid, you'll now pay $13.19 per gallon. Government is expected to lose over $3 million in revenue over the next 3 months as a result of this. The Agency for Public Information said currently St. Vincent and the Grenadines has the lowest price for gasoline in the Eastern Caribbean. The Labor Day weekend in SVG was marred by the killing of 4 people. Dead are Van Dyke Mayers, a 42-year-old laborer of Choppins, Kishroy Duke, a 22-year-old laborer also of Choppins, Luann Roberts, a 41-year-old family councillor of Harmony Hall, and Keon Phillips, a 35-year-old laborer of Kingston Park and Greggs. The killings were spread across the weekend from Friday evening to Monday morning. We hear more in this report.
As we know it, football matches are meant to be a fun time for family, friends, and others to gather and rally in support for their favorite team. However, a match on Friday evening held at the Calico playing field took a wrong turn, causing the match to end abruptly and later led to the death of 2 persons.
In football, you have bad tackles and stuff, and that just go on between 2 players, one from Glen and one from Choppins. And as far as I heard, they just have a push, not a fight, not anything. They just push one another. Did last for any time. But then the ref blew off the game, and one of the guys said, all of you gotta get died. All of you get for dead, something like that. And then that's how it happened. No fighting or anything. So the guy who was involved, they just leave the park, and then they return in a vehicle as far as I heard, because the other guy said the vehicle passed them coming up on the road, but these 2 guys was in front. It was at least 3 of them. But one of them turned back because they forget the phone. So they turned back, and when they meet the crowd, one of the guys said they have his phone. So was the only two guys that was coming up. So while coming up, apparently the vehicle that dropped off the gunmen just met them and offload shots on them. If the whole group was coming up, everybody would get shot at. Guys that get killed on the spot, he usually ref football matches up here. And they always have some kind of misunderstanding as far as I hear. So I believe this is something that planned. They did out for him. They are not troublemakers. They are just ordinary, sportmen. But what I'm saying, they was not playing. The guys them who get shot was not playing. They was not part of the game. The one that got killed on the spot, he used to refuse. And the other guy who got killed, he just went down there to watch the game.
The police said reports indicate that about 9:30 p.m. on Friday, sounds of gunshots emanated from within the vicinity where members of the Choppins football team were walking. As a result, some persons advanced in the direction of the gunshots and discovered Mayers and Duke with what appeared to be gunshot wounds about their bodies. Relatives of the deceased are in an emotional state as they lament that their loved ones did not deserve to die in such a manner, especially as they had nothing to do with what transpired at the football match. The police say investigations reveal that during the football match, an argument broke out between some of the members of both teams and threats were uttered. One male suspect was in police custody assisting with the investigations but was subsequently released pending further investigations. Relatives and friends of the deceased are hoping for swift justice.
So they're my cousins, and I felt it because I was very close with them, especially Kishroy. He was like a brother to me. He always looked out for me. Knowing my cousins, they are outgoing person. They are cool, they're fun to be around. They don't make trouble. They always share a smile, and up to this day, I just cannot believe that I would not be seeing them again. It is hard for everybody in the village because you could say the whole neighborhood is relatives, and to see that they took them so soon and they had nothing to do with the little getaway on the park and they were innocent, it breaks everybody's heart. To be honest, I don't see the reason why they had to do this to them because they did not deserve it. It's not like to say they went there to fight. They went there to play, and after the match, they enjoyed themselves. Everybody is shocked. Everybody is confused. Everybody is angry. We just hope that we get justice. I hope that I get justice for my cousins because that was very unfair. And Kishroy, he was so young, and he has his life ahead of him, and they just took it.
On Sunday morning at approximately 9:15 a.m., the body of Luann Roberts, a 41-year-old counselor at the family court, was discovered in the backseat of a car in the vicinity of the Buckerman Bay Secondary School with what appeared to be injuries to the head. The discovery was made by police shortly after receiving information that Roberts' life was possibly in danger. Reynald Roberts, a 40-year-old unemployed man of Harmony Hall, is in police custody assisting with this investigation. The release says that he was arrested on suspicion of murder. The fourth incident occurred yesterday, Monday, May 2nd, 2022, at about 5:45 a.m. The police say they received information that the slumped body of a male was seen on a speaker box in Kingston Park with what appeared to be blood running from his head. Members of the Major Crimes Unit responded to the report and discovered the motionless body of Keon Phillips, a 35-year-old laborer of Kingston Park and Greggs, seated on a speaker box. Residents who asked to remain off camera told us Phillips had split personalities. They say while he was a very helpful person, he was also known to be extremely stubborn. A source close to the deceased told us that whilst the information have been circulating on social media suggests that Phillips was gunned down as a result of constantly playing loud music and antagonizing people in the neighborhood, this is actually not the case as he was not playing any loud music on that fateful day. Another source says it is believed that Phillips's death may be the end result of a recent attack made against him, as he escapes death when an unknown assailant opened fire at him. The total number of homicides for 2022 now stands at 14. Police are now asking for persons with information that could assist with these investigations to contact the Assistant Commissioner in charge of crimes at telephone number 457-1211, the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigations Department at 456-1810, the officer in charge of the South Central Division at 458-4200, the officer in charge of the Southwestern Division at 458-7229, or any police station or police officer you are comfortable with. All information they say would be treated with confidentiality. Investigations into these incidents are ongoing. Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Nicole Ballantyne.
Members of the opposition New Democratic Party last Thursday paid tribute to the late Calder Williams at a special memorial service held inside the Sir James Mitchell Auditorium at Democrat House. In 1979, Williams became the leader of the NDP and served the people of North Leeward as their elected MP from 1979 to 1984. Current leader of the NDP, Dr. Godwin Friday, said Williams was a great man and politician.
His life exemplified what public life means. You've heard he wore many hats. He was a politician and parliamentarian, a teacher, trade unionist, farmer, and notable cricketer. I'm told he used to bring the red banana and call the kids in the community and tell them to come for red banana. Metaphorically, he could walk with kings and never lose the common touch. I will remember him as a gentle and humble man who was prepared to listen, to advise, and to help wherever and whenever he could. He was easy to talk to. He gave honest advice whenever it was sought. There was no putting on of airs with Calder. What you saw is what you got. And what you saw was an honest person. And through it all, whether as parliamentarian or farmer, to everyone he remained simply Calder.
Dr. Friday said Williams' being the first elected MP for the NDP on mainland St. Vincent from 1979 greatly helped push the party and cement North Leeward as a stronghold for the NDP for many years.
Because the people chose him, he contested the elections, and though the party did not prevail overall to win the elections, he won the first seat here on the mainland. We've heard that story many times, but it needs to be told over and over again. Because when people saw the simple man Calder walking around Kingstown or in the community with no brag or boast about his accomplishments, they may easily forget what he did. For the fledgling political party, the NDP, his win in North Leeward was a giant step forward. So you will understand why North Leeward has a special place in our party's history and in our hearts. We have always acknowledged that in the story of our party, we've always acknowledged it. And this is evident, of course, in Sir James's autobiography, Beyond the Islands.
Former MP for North Leeward, Roland Patel Matthews, spoke highly of Williams, whom he said was not only a colleague, but a close friend who served his people well.
Brothers and sisters, Calder Williams was by no means an ordinary person. He was simple, very simple. As Brother Bruce was telling me a while ago, look at the photo. Simple fella. No jacket and tie kind of dude. Simple guy. A guy of the street that everybody know and everybody recognize and everybody appreciate. But Calder had an interesting life that would show you that this simple guy had an impact like no other politician on the lives of Vincentian. Let me give you a little history, a brief history. This guy, a police officer, a teacher, a national cricketer, a political activist, a trade unionist. At one point, he was a member of parliament between 1979 and 84. At one point in his life, he also was an agent that you could have gone to if you want to go and sail. Many people didn't know that. So Calder had done it all, a farmer. But when you look at Calder's life, something comes out to you. And everything he did was for humanity. People benefited. He was what you call the ultimate servant. I think that no one in the history of our country when it comes to politics has been so much involved in so many areas that Calder Williams had. And for that, we are very appreciative of it.
Williams was laid to rest last Friday in his hometown of Chateaubelair in North Leeward.